The speech is called Seven Pillars, and it is the reasons why I am successful. I have thought clearly about my life, and I've identified 7 reasons why I'm successful. And here's what's amazing. Each one of them is completely reproducible. There is no one of these 7 that's so difficult or needs such special skills that you couldn't do it. Each one of them can be easily done by anybody. You might say, well, then why isn't everybody wealthy? One reason is they don't know what the 7 are. Another reason is they don't practice them. Now, man's walking along, and he sees on the fence beside him, "Keep out. We mean it. No trespassing. Danger. Keep out." And he's walking along this dusty road, and he sees these really threatening signs on the fence. And he looks into this field, and it's just this huge empty field that looks as calm and as safe as you could ever imagine. And he's walking along, and there's more signs. "Keep out, we mean it, we're serious, go away." And then he sees right in the middle of the field a tree, but a strange tree, because about 9 feet up, it has an absolutely horizontal branch. And he gets the idea, I wonder if I could leap up and hang from the branch. Just for fun, he got that idea. And he says, I'm going to do that. So he hops over the fence, disregarding those warning signs, and goes way into the middle of this huge field, and he stands under the tree. And he looks at the branch, and he focuses, and he leaps up, and he misses. He says, no problem. I'm going to think of every amazing motivational speaker I've ever heard. Zig Ziglar and Tony Robbins and Raymond, all the greats. And he focuses and focuses, and he gets into total thought and focus on that branch, and he leaps and misses again. And then he hears, "Boom!" And he turns around, and there, just 20 feet away from him, is a bull. A raging, angry bull with snot pouring out of its nostrils, glaring angrily at this intruder. Razor-sharp horns pointed straight at him, and his right hoof pawing the ground. And then the bull charged, and the man jumped for the branch. He missed, but luckily he caught it on the way down. The title of the first pillar of success is total commitment. Total commitment. Most people run their life like the first jump. Very few people run their life like the second jump. Those people who run their life like the third jump are the most famous people and the most wealthy people on earth. How many times have you heard other people who supposedly love you giving you the exact opposite of advice? How about this one? Don't work too hard. How about this one? Take it easy. Are those consistent with total commitment? No. They're not even consistent with the first kind of jumping. What I've noticed is that people don't raise themselves even the most minor amount and wish they could create wealth. To learn how to do it, exactly how to do the thing that you want to do, you need to rise your level of commitment to the point where you catch the branch on the way down. And let me tell you how I do that in my life. I was living with a wonderful woman, and we attended a speech. And the speaker was saying that what he does in his relationship is has this little game with his wife. He calls it the fuzzy red heart. And what he does is he hides the heart on his wife. And she never knows where it is, but one day she'll be struggling to put her boot on, and she won't be able to get it on. She'll, what's going on? And she'll put her hand in and pull out this fuzzy red heart, and she'll feel warm and fuzzy, and oh, my husband loves me. And then what she does is hides it on him. And at the end of that talk, the speaker actually handed out a fuzzy red heart to everyone in the audience. I met several of those people weeks and months and years later because I know many of the people in the audience. I said, what'd you do with the fuzzy red heart? And they had no recollection of it. But we're still doing it. And she hides it in the breakfast cereal, and I'm like trying to get the breakfast cereal to come out, and I'm shaking it, and nothing's coming out. I said, what's going on here? I can hear the stuff in there making noise. Why isn't it coming out? So I angrily look in, and there's the fuzzy red heart. And it reminds us, or it reminded us, of the commitment that we had to each other in a really enjoyable way. So I look for ways to remind myself about total commitment. Because I get tired too. I get bored too. I sit on airplanes and say, what am I doing this for? Why aren't I at home? Or do I need this? I get frustrated. I get angry. I lose sight of my focus. And I have all these ways of not just coming back to focus, but coming back to total commitment. And how can you do it? Hang around people who have total commitment. That's my biggest suggestion to you. Because when you see how they act, that's how you will start acting. If you want me to be your mentor, if you want to hang around me, please do. The important thing is, if the people around you are take it easy kind of people, if the people around you are don't work too hard kind of people, that's what you'll become. Number 2, I was shopping one day in a grocery store, and I brought all my groceries in the grocery cart up to the cashier. And the cashier was a nice young woman of about 20 years old. And she was pumping through all of my purchases. And as I was standing there waiting, I looked down the aisle and I realized there was lots of cash registers, and each one of them was manned by a very nice young lady about 20 years old. And I noticed that behind her there was younger boys about 16, 17 years old. And they were putting the checked groceries into the bags. And I said, okay, that works. I'm just watching the whole thing work. And then I noticed that I don't have a bagger. My cashier didn't have a bagger. And then I noticed she did. Then she didn't. And I'm saying, what's happening? And I then noticed that my bagger was going back and forth between my cashier and the next cashier. So I said to my cashier, you're short a bagger today? She said, no. And then with the biggest smile of pride, she said, I got the double bagger today. She was so proud. She got the double bagger. She got the boy who is proud that he can bag for 2 cashiers. I said, does he get more money? She said, no. But he's the happiest of all the baggers and does better work than all the other baggers, and he does twice the work of any other bagger. And I said, wow! And then she said something that I will never, ever forget. She said, all his life, he's going to be a double bagger in anything he ever does. And I said to myself, whoa! What a metaphor. Whatever his job is in his life, that's how he will behave. One of my favorite expressions is, the competition dies down really fast at 5:01 p.m. every day. And again, I'm not telling you to be workaholic, and I'm not telling you to work overtime. I'm just noticing. At 5:01 p.m. every day, competition dies down real fast. It actually isn't that hard to shine. It isn't that hard to do well, because most people are so uncommitted. And most people aren't even single baggers. To look good on this planet, you don't actually have to put yourself out much. But when you consistently do, you'll be shocked at what you produce. The good news is that the average is so low that when you strive to double bag and to be totally committed, you will shine so far above everyone else. Number 3, always learn. I was married to a woman, and I truly loved her. She was a wonderful woman. We had a great relationship, and still do. But she had an interesting characteristic. She was a terrible contractor. She was a building contractor, and she was terrible. Why? Because she loved what she did so thoroughly, which is why I fell in love with her, that she would pour her heart and soul into every contracting job she did for every client. So number one, she always went over budget, which we usually had to eat ourselves. And number two, she would come up with creative ideas during the process and then change the job based on how she knew it would be better. So she spent far too much money, far too much time, and then didn't deliver what the client wanted. So she thought she was doing a great job. I loved what she did. The only person who didn't love it was the client who had to pay the bill. So every time a job was finished, she would phone me from their home and say, Mr. Aaron, could you please come over and help me? Because we used different surnames, so they didn't know we were married. Mr. Aaron, can you please come over and mediate something? So I would go racing over there, and the client would say, it's not what I asked for. And then she would say, yeah, but it's gorgeous. It's really beautiful. And they'd say, well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it's not what we asked for. In any case, it took you way too long to do it, so we're not actually interested in paying you for it. And then I would mediate a settlement, and they would pay a diminished amount, and meanwhile, she had invested more money than we originally bid anyways. And we would lose money. And we would do this every time a job ended. Every time. So on the way home one day, she said to me, there's one person who always loves every contracting job I do. I said, great, find that person and work only for them, please. And she said, it's you. She said, I'd like you to be my only client. I can't, I'm your husband. What do you mean? I can't be your client. That doesn't even make sense. And then, as soon as I heard myself say it doesn't make sense, I knew that was the answer. Because what I found in life is that what doesn't make sense, or what seems at first to be silly, is actually the best idea of all. And what happened was, I became her only client. So I would buy a house, and I would not discuss with her the renovation job she was going to do, because it was futile. I knew that no matter what I said to her, she was going to do the job she was going to do, so I just let her do whatever she did. And then she could never go overtime because there was no time, and she never could go over budget because there was no budget. And at the end, she would call me in, and I would love it. I would love it so much that we didn't sell it. We rented it out to others because we loved it so much. And then she said to me, where's my next job? Your next job? I don't know. And then I had to race out and buy a house. And then halfway through that renovation, she said, you know, Raymond, you're my only client. I'm going to finish this job in a month. Are you starting to get ready for my third house? I said, I've got no more money. And so I had to learn how to buy real estate with nothing down. And then I had to learn how to get multiple mortgages, because I already had a couple mortgages and I was totally tapped out. And I had to learn how to do all these things. And I studied and I kept learning. And I found mentors and masters in those areas. And I associated with brilliant people. And I eventually was able to get more and more properties, more and more mortgages, more and more properties with nothing down. I had to learn how to be a landlord. I had to learn how to do real estate, property management, bookkeeping. I had to learn all those things. And then a real estate boom came to the city that we had invested in. And we were multimillionaires. And we were multimillionaires to some extent because I loved her, to some extent because she was a terrible contractor, to some extent because we fell in love with her work so much and couldn't part with it, but also to some extent because I was willing to learn and learn and learn and learn and learn anything I had to learn in order to deliver to my wife what I had agreed to do. And so number 3 is always learn. People tell me that I'm a great speaker and a great teacher, and I always respect that compliment. But the only reason I'm a great teacher, if I am one, is because I'm a great student, a great learner. If you don't know much, no one's going to pay you much for what you know. Number 4 is the strangest one I got, and it's usually the one that people are most profoundly moved by. Number 4 is obey your weaknesses. Obey your weaknesses. I'm now going to destroy everything that you've ever learned in school. When you were in school, you took French because you had to take French. You took English because you had to take English. You took geography because you had to take geography. And you took math because you had to take math. You took biology because you had to take biology. And the system didn't care. You had to do your math homework, and you had to do your biology homework, and you had to do it equally well. Equally. Because whatever you were worst at, they asked you to improve in. They looked at your weaknesses and wanted you to do better on your weaknesses. Here's what my mentor taught me, and I love it. He said, if you spend your life working on your weaknesses, by the end of your life, you will have many strong weaknesses. Whatever you are weak at, you're always going to be weak at it. If you're lousy in math, you can study all you want. You're never going to be great in math. Obey your weaknesses means don't waste your life thinking that if you really struggle hard enough and go through enough pain, you'll somehow be good enough at it. Maybe you'll be good enough, but you'll never excel. Never, ever. My daughter, my older daughter, is brilliant in poetry. When she was 11 years old, she wrote a poem that was so beyond her years, it was so deep, it was so moving, that it won an international competition and was published in a book that hit New York Times top 10. In school, every semester, every report card, we would get a note home from her teacher saying, she needs help in math. And I would reply, no, she needs help in poetry. And they would say, are you nuts? She's the best poet in the school. She's dazzling in poetry. She gets 100% in English every test, every term, all the time. She's terrible in math. She needs help in math. And I keep saying, she will never make a contribution to the world in math. Believe me. But she will make a contribution to the world in poetry. I want her to get extra help in poetry. And they kept saying things to me like, you don't understand. I love that. That's my favorite. So, I encourage you, notice what you're great at. Delegate everything else because you stink at it anyways. If you say, boy, I start so many projects but I don't end them, don't beat yourself up that you don't end them. Find somebody who loves ending projects. Go find a completion freak. Marry them, hire them, do a joint venture with them, I don't care. If you can't get things started, but once they're started you can finish them, go get some kind of quick start who just loves starting things, but then loses interest, gives it over to you. If you're messy and you wish you weren't, find a neat freak. Obey your weaknesses. I do. People think somehow they get into heaven faster, or more assuredly if they've done things they don't like in this life. And my comment to you is, if you do things you don't like, that pain is not going to help you in this lifetime, and it's not going to help you get into heaven, so don't do it. Number 5, clean messes. Clean your messes. What I've noticed is that wealthy people have orderly, organized, neat lives. Broke people have lives completely filled with messes. That's because rich people hire other people to clean their stuff up. No, it isn't. You've got the causality backwards. You don't get rich, then get clean. Rather, you clean your messes, and that allows abundance to come in. The most quoted statement I have ever made is, each mess is a lock on the gate which keeps abundance out. What I have found is that when you clean your messes, the degree to which you feel uplifted, the degree to which you feel relieved is so enormous that there's nothing that prevents abundance from flowing in. One of the most unpleasant activities that humans are involved in is moving from one house to another. Why? Because you don't have the physical fitness to do the lifting, so you hurt your back. You think that it's better to bug and bother your friends to help you, and they don't want to either because they know they're lousy at it. So you impose on them, they say, yeah, I'll be there, and then they don't show up so that you hate them or they come late. And then you scratch the wall moving the fridge out. It's just the most unpleasant experience. Well, that's a mess. I don't get involved in messes, and I only do what I'm great at. And I realized I'm not interested in moving, and I'm not interested in hurting my back, I'm not interested in bothering my friends, and I'm not interested in doing anything that's going to be a mess. I'm not interested in doing anything that's my weakness. And so, I don't move. Although I do move. It's just that I, personally, don't do the moving. Well, how do you get moved then? Well, here's what happened. The last time I moved, I contacted a person that I knew, and I said, I'll pay you your hourly rate, whatever it is. She was just a friend. I'll pay you your hourly rate, and here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to find a place for me to live, a one-bedroom condo with lots of security and a nice fitness center on the main floor. And I want it near my office, and I want you to get a good rent and sign the lease, and then contact some moving vans and choose the one you want and pay them, and come to my home the day before and take anything that's fragile and pack it up, and then supervise them packing up all the rest of the stuff, and then drive over with the moving van and previously have a cleaning staff come and clean the new place, and then put everything away and get rid of all the boxes and decide where everything's going to go and do the whole thing. And then I went to Florida. I left my old home while I still owned it, drove to the airport, flew to Florida, and I came back to the airport and drove to my new place. I came in, and there was my home, everything set up, no boxes, all the furniture exactly where it should be, everything in its place, everything spectacular. And people always object, and they say, oh, what if there's something that's not where you want it? Then you move that one thing. She put the linen in the linen closet. She put the kitchen table in the kitchen. She put that dining room tablecloth on the dining room table. Like 99% of all the stuff in your house is really dictated where it has to go, and even though you think you have choice, you have no choice. You put the towels in the bathroom. There's nowhere else to put them. There was one or two things I wanted moved, but the correction on my part took me 2 or 3 minutes. 99% of the job was all done by her, a lot better than it would have been done by me. The interesting thing is, without her, the cost was something like $1,500 for the moving van and the cleaning lady at my new place. With her, the cost was about $1,800. It cost $300 more. Well, I'm not saying money doesn't matter to me, but what I am saying is there isn't that much of a difference between $1,500 and $1,800. But there is a gigantic difference between how I move and how you move. You know what most people say to me? They have boxes from when they moved in 20 years ago. Before I got into my home, everything was out of the boxes and the boxes were gone. Wow. So, I have messes cleaned for me, and I make sure I don't create them in the first place. Number 6, power team. I want you to write 3 capital letters, one on top of the other, under the word power. 3 capital letters. A, B, C. And to the right of the letter A, I want you to make a big, fat dot. That's the first kind of power team, and it's called rugged individualist. A rugged individualist is someone who says, I can do it myself. You want something done? You got to do it yourself. Yeah, I just can't get good help these days. By the time I teach them how to do it, I could have had it done. Interestingly, you need to be a rugged individualist when you start a business, because you need to do everything yourself, because you must understand how every aspect of your business works. You must. However, really, really soon, you had better move on to a different way of controlling your business, and for me, also controlling my life. And the reason is, pretty soon, rugged individualists get exhausted. When you first start a business, you only get 1 or 2 phone calls a day, so you might as well answer the phones. You only get 1 or 2 bills a day, might as well pay the bills yourself. You only send out 1 invoice a month because you don't have that many clients. Might as well be in charge of accounts receivable yourself. And so you do it all yourself, and you should. I'm not making fun of it. You should do it all yourself. Why? Because you have to sense how each part of your business is working. You must. But if your business is successful, pretty soon there's 20, 30 phone calls coming in a day. Pretty soon there's several invoices that have to be sent out every day. Pretty soon there's 30 or 40 pieces of mail that are being received every day, and somebody has to do something clever with each piece. Pretty soon you're working 15 hours a day. And at that point, you either continue to be a rugged individualist and get exhausted, or you switch to one of the other two methodologies. The next one being the one I'm lettering B. And B, I want you to make a big fat dot with a ring of tiny dots around it. This is the traditional hierarchical approach. This is the 1850s Industrial Revolution hierarchical approach to business, where there is a boss man, and under the boss there's a few vice presidents, and under the vice presidents is even more assistant vice presidents, and under them there's even more department heads, and under them is the employees, and that's the hierarchy. Schools are set up that way because schools started in the Industrial Revolution. Before that, schools didn't exist the way they currently exist. And so schools replicated the industry. There's a principal, and under him there are vice principals, and under him there are department heads, and under him, or her, there's teachers, and under the teachers there's students. Everything's a hierarchy. And that works in an unevolved way. It works. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but it's not that evolved. Large corporations tend to set things up that way. Small companies have no need to. And yet, without thinking about it, that's what you might do. So let's think about it. Let me tell you C. Because B is called boss. Boss. And if you've ever been in a hierarchy, you know why it's called boss. Everyone has a boss or is a boss. And everyone who has a boss dislikes their boss. And in a hierarchy, everybody has a boss. That means everybody is disliked. It's not a very uplifting environment. But C is. And C is a ring of fat dots. And this is not rugged individualist. This is not boss. This is power team. Power team. And that's what I've got. And it's the greatest blessing in my life. You might say, but no, you are the boss in your company, and then you have people in charge of each business, and there's people under them. You have a hierarchy. No, I don't. No, I don't. You talk to my staff, they'll tell you. When I come back from a trip, I'll go up to the woman who's in charge of the monthly mentor program and say, thank you. I really appreciate the work that you do, because as I travel around the world, people come up to me and thank me for how well the monthly mentor program is delivered, and it's because of you. I really appreciate that. And then I'll go up to my executive assistant and say, thank you so much. Every single person that I speak to tells me how sweet you are and how dedicated you are and how much you're willing to help them. I love that. And so what I notice is that the people around me I hold as equals. The woman who runs the monthly mentor program, she's the president of the monthly mentor program. I say to her, what would you like me to do? How can I support you? What is it that I can do for you? So it may be that legally I'm her boss, but we act as if she's my boss, so that truly we're equals. She'll say to me, Raymond, I need you to write this letter, and I need it to get done by noon tomorrow. Yes, ma'am, if that's important to you, I'll get that done. And so we delegate to each other, we cooperate with each other, we're equals. My executive assistant, I respect her, I think of her as my equal. I say to her, how do you think they're reacting? What's going on here? Why do we have that problem? Or why do we have that success? And she knows I'm definitely not looking down at her, seeing if I can pick up a gem or two. I treat her as an equal. I treat everyone in my company as an equal. I imagine that I'm at a round table and that we're all working together with each one of us doing what we love. Even to the extent that I extend this power team to other areas of my life, way beyond business. For example, Nikki and Mark McCoy, who run my exercise program. Wow, do I respect them, and I do what they say. Another wonderful man, Harvey Brooker, was in charge of my weight loss program. I did exactly what he said. I lost 35 pounds in 6 months and have kept it off effortlessly for 6 years because I just did exactly what he told me to do. Even my dry cleaner. You might say, dry cleaner? You mean you drive along, you stop, you throw your shirts at some person in a dry cleaning store and that person is on your power team? Yes. Because every single person that I associate with has to be on my power team, and I'll tell you why. There's a dry cleaning store right across the street from my office. I said, well, that's convenient. So I walked in there one day, and I gave him a shirt and 2 pants. And he looked at me, and he thought for a long time. I'm saying to myself, what's he thinking about? It's a shirt and 2 pants. This has probably happened many times in his life. And in front of him, he had 2 piles of receipts. And on top of each one, he had stamped in huge 1-inch high letters, repair, and on the other one, dry cleaning. So he says, just dry cleaning? Yes. Not repair? No, just dry cleaning. Because we use different receipts. I said, yeah, it's just dry cleaning. Not repair? No, it's just dry cleaning. So he slowly picks up the dry cleaning one, and he writes, 1 pants, 2 shirts. I'm like going nuts. Anyways, I come back a few days later, and I show him my receipt. Now this receipt, in 1-inch high black letters that he personally stamped, says dry cleaning. He looks at me and he says, dry cleaning? I said, yeah. He said, not repair? No. He said, because the repaired stuff hangs over there and the dry cleaning stuff hangs over here, so I need to know where to go. I said, it's dry cleaning. I finally got the stuff, and he gave me my change, and I swore I ain't never going back to that establishment. And you might say, well, it's convenient. Who cares? It takes a little extra time. What's the difference? The difference is he doesn't deserve to be on my power team. So I stopped at different dry cleaning shops as I was driving back and forth between work and office, and I tried different ones, and they were all fine. You go in there, they say hello to you, it's fine. But one woman, this diminutive little Chinese woman, and I'm going to speak in her Chinese accent, but I'm absolutely not making fun of her because I just love her so much. I drive up. I've never been in there before. I've never been in her dry cleaning store ever before. I get in, she says, you Raymond? I said, yeah, I'm Raymond. She says, I see you. I see your car drive around. Its license plate is Raymond. Really? I see you coming to my store. And I look down. She has taken one of the receipts and written my name, Raymond, and today's date already on it, and she's already seen from my hands as I'm coming in what I'm bringing in. She's already written it out. She gives me the back copy and says, you busy man, you go. Now, please understand, I'm not making fun of her. I love her. I enjoy her so much that I'm just replicating her accent the best I can. So I come back a few days later. I get out of my car. My goods are already hanging. She's recognized me. She remembers me. She has found my stuff, and it's hanging there already. I walk in. She says, there's your stuff. Go. You busy man. You go. You pay later. And then one time I came in. She says, you pay now. All right. All right, I'll pay now. Meanwhile, she totaled the whole thing. She knew when I was going to come. She had it all ready. She wasn't sitting there with a calculator. Everything was ready for me. She whips through my credit card. She says, you go, you go. Wow. And I have to confess something. I used to pile up my shirts and wait till I've got enough of them so it's worthwhile to go to a dry cleaner's. Now I go in if I have one shirt because I love her so much. I just love it. I get inspired by her. How many people get inspired by their dry cleaning store? So what I want to tell you is everyone on my team is important. It's not just my partner who's got enormous credentials as a chartered accountant and a dazzling investor and gives me great advice. It's not just big people. Everybody's a big person in my life. I won't allow anyone in my life that drags me down in any way. How many times have you heard people say, oh my gosh, I got a doctor's appointment, that guy's always late, I sit there for an hour and a half. And I say to myself, why? Why do you do that? Well, he's my doctor. Not my doctor. My doctor doesn't do that to me. My doctor's on time. My doctor knows my name. My doctor knows my issues. So, that's how I run my life. Number 7 is follow mentors. In every area of my life, I follow mentors. My personal organizer is also a feng shui consultant. When she comes into my home, she'll say, who put that vase there? I said, well, I bought a vase. It looked good. She said, not there. Bad feng shui. I don't know what bad feng shui means. I don't know what it means. But she says it with such authority. That's all right. You put it wherever it should be. She said, if you put it there, you'll lose money and your relationships won't work. I said, all right. Put it where it should go. And then she'll put it somewhere and she'll give me some reason why it has to be there. And that's fine. I never doubt her. I do exactly what she says. I do exactly what my fitness coach says. I do exactly what my weight loss coach says. I do exactly what my executive assistant tells me to do. I have a person in charge of each of my businesses, and I do exactly what they tell me to do. I have mentors around me who are brilliant in what they do. The person who does the shipping, everything that goes into or out of my office, she loves doing that. She just loves it. And so she's in charge of that area, and she just runs it flawlessly, and we all bow down to her. Whatever she wants, she gets by way of shipping, because she loves it. And so I seek out true mentors in every area of my life, true masters in their arena, and that's the only people I associate with. And amazingly, I will sometimes hear one sentence from a true master, and it'll reverse some thinking that I've had for years, or some struggle that I've had for years because I picked something up from television or from someone who wasn't a true master. And it's only when I hear great advice from great masters that I move forward. Those are my 7 pillars to success. What I do is I have total commitment to those things that I do in my life. You probably cannot do that now, not because you don't have enough energy, but because you're half committed to all kinds of stuff that you shouldn't even be committed to at all. You've agreed to do all kinds of stuff that you're lousy at and have no interest in and don't do a good job at. The way I can be totally committed is because I commit only to those things that I totally love to do. I give more no matter what. No matter what it is, I always give more. If you only give what you're paid to do, you're only going to get paid what you're currently getting paid. If you want to get more, you've got to give much more, and you need to give more first. I always learn all the time from any words of wisdom that come to me. I obey my weaknesses and never do anything that I'm not brilliant at. Broke people, this is great. I can always tell if someone's broke. I ask them what the future of interest rates is. That's my way of deciding if someone's rich or broke. Broke people are so excited that they get asked a question that they answer it. They say, interest rates, I think they're going to stay stable for 6 months and then go up half a point. They just make stuff up. The most brilliant people in the world don't know what's going to happen with interest rates. Nobody knows what's going to happen with interest rates, but every broke person will answer that question. You ask a wealthy person, they'll say, I don't know. They'll say no one knows, because nobody does know. I answer only those questions that I'm a master at. I clean my messes, or more correctly, I have my messes cleaned for me because I don't enjoy cleaning my messes and I enjoy having them cleaned. I have a power team around me, so I'm always uplifted, and I follow mentors' advice so every area of my life works. That's what my life is. It took a while to put into place, but my suggestion to you is choose one of those that most resonates with you. And work at that. Start working at that and put this in place as soon as you can. Thank you very much.